In this footage, you're going to see a masterclass on how to get somebody else to leave a key, disband a key early, whatever you want to call it. Unfortunately, you're also going to see more evidence against the Azralan realm. That's the Shadow Moon Battlegrounds, and we know just how easy this dungeon can be. So this really says something about the fact that this is actually going to be a disband, and we are going to see the first funny moment of the key right away. This tank, who is named Feral from Quel'The Lost, its own discussion point, actually comes over here willingly and aggroes the Void Spawn. So honestly, these mobs aren't that dangerous, but yet again, this is another key recorded on the Fortified Grievous week. So without question, the hardest time to ever fight one of these mobs, and you're going to see this guy go down like the Titanic. Now we keep doing the hilarious stuff though. Like, so this is another huge pet peeve of mine. Like, we're clearly wiping here. We aggroed one of the hardest mobs in the dungeon for no reason because we just didn't plan out the route well. And now we're going to run backwards to try to keep this pack with the most dangerous mob in the dungeon alive for absolutely no reason when we shouldn't fight it. We don't need it for score. We don't need anything from it. We're going to keep that all in combat and run back. Guess who's back though? Feral. The tank has returned. He's here tanking him again. So now the mobs are just like, I mean, we're basically wiping to this pack twice. This is a huge pet peeve of mine. And here comes the chatter. Rafts from Azralan, the demon hunter from Azralan, says, "Tank, use CD, bro." Then he says, "Lol, heal. You called a tank IODPS. Why?" Question mark. It's just funny to me. I've never heard anybody say that. You called a tank. Reminds me of that song. What was that song? Hey, I just met you. This is crazy. Hell, here's my number. Call me baby. Here's another funny example that, like, we're trying to like skip this mob, right? Like, we're just waiting for it to patrol. Watch, we're just gonna wait for it to patrol, like, not enough. He's just gonna run right into it. So if you can't understand exactly what the guy's saying, he's basically saying you chose to take a tank who only has Mythic Plus score from a DPS role. They don't normally tank. So I looked into that, and it is actually, like, legit, yeah. This guy's, like, relatively qualified. I mean, he's certainly qualified for a 14 as a DPS, or in fact, he's done, like, a lot of keys that are, like, way higher than 14 now. At the time, I don't know what his score was, but yeah, he's very qualified as a DPS. But then we come into the tanking situation. We see a pretty big issue here. I mean, even now, this was like multiple weeks ago that this footage was recorded. Even now, this guy is still not actually finished at 14. Just doesn't tank a lot, you know what I mean? So the Demon Hunter's kind of got a point. The problem there, though, is it's really not even hard to imagine making this mistake. Like, the whole add-on and the situation with Mythic Plus score in the game simply needs to be better, and we can have a whole nother video on that. I just want to say that, though, for sure. Like, if you guys aren't satisfied with it, please don't stop talking about it. Bring it up in places that Blizzard can hear it. Offer solutions to some of these problems, because these things they're good, but they could be better. And I think the fact that they're not the best they can be is definitely impacting a lot of people, especially those in a pug scenario. But back to how to disband keys 101. So we got this pack here, and as we see, one of these defiled spirits is bouncing around a bit. These mobs are kind of a pain, especially if you're not a death knight. And now this is really funny to me. See, so the mob we just talked about is still back there. Okay, it's still back there. Here's the demon hunter. He's like, I'm done with that pack. Time to move on. He's just literally gonna go and try to solo the pack. Like, this is really funny too, because this is Luna. This is somebody who sent me footage already. You might have seen the video of their Core to Stars, where the tank just runs and pulls the imps by himself and tries to solo it, and then dies to the fact that he's the only player in range of him. And I love that they're following him doing that. It's like a cameraman, like they're just like following the action. The dude literally just like runs up, suicides, and we got the bird's eye view. But here's where it ultimately ends. And yeah, honestly, this pack is just hard. It does a lot of damage. You can kite this pack. Guy's just gonna straight up die to it. And then, you know, ultimately the demon hunter's harsh words, funny as they were, causes him to probably become overstressed, and he just says, forget it, I'm gonna leave the party. So let's dissect what exactly happens here, because there's a lot to unpack and a lot to be learned from here. Healer presumably listed their key for the 14 Shadow Moon Battleground and was looking for a tank. Not sure exactly what tanking invites are looking like in the low keys, but it's common that I hear that there's a tank drought, so you might just invite the first player you come across. So this guy is not actually a tank, though. He normally plays a feral druid, and his name's even Feral. Playing a DPS and playing a tank are very different roles, and even though you know that the guy's done these dungeons on keys that are higher than the one you're doing, because he's never tanked them, is he a good pick for your key? That's a question that only you can answer, but ultimately it won't be just you who's answering the question. Because as you see in the group, unfortunately, they try to take it hostage and make this player feel bad for inviting somebody who they believed were a good pick. Believe that they were a good pick or that they were duped by the score. Either way, you might end up having a different conversation unfold. His deaths, though, are really not something that I would say, like, that's because he's not a tank normally. Like, nothing really goes on in this key that makes me think he's a new tank. Like, I could see myself dying to those packs on a non-death knight all the time. And then the pack that he's fighting down, like, where he just dies and he leaves, it's like, that's just the pack. There's nothing you can do about that. Like, the funny thing about the Demon Hunter too, he goes, use your CDs. This is just not how the game works, man. I can give you guys straight up advice, all right? If you want to get better at Mythic Plus, stop trying to tell other people what to do. I don't care if you're right. I don't care if they're wrong. I don't care if you think it will help them. I don't care if you think they need to know it. Stop trying to convince them that you know something they don't, because it's not ever going to be productive. If somebody messes up, it's on them to figure it out. They ask for advice, obviously you should give it. But unsolicited advice anywhere in this world is almost always going to yield this type of response. It appears to me that this guy just withdrew and he just kind of gave up on himself after those deaths. Maybe there's more to it than that. Obviously, the tank was not the right pick for the role. Potentially going to have some struggles as we go, but this dungeon is just not something that you should ever disband over a few deaths on. And this guy put the pressure on him early, making a big statement, kind of calling him out really for no reason. Like, the death there had absolutely nothing to do with his IO. It had absolutely nothing to do with him using defensive CDs. He's just playing a bear druid in a dungeon with a lot of magic damage, man. Hope this has helped. Thank you guys for watching. This is now the 8th entry into this series. If you guys are recording your footage and you have anything crazy, anything funny, please send it my way. There's hilarity abound and I can't wait to get back to finding it. So thank you for watching. We will see you guys in the next one.